When you hear of stories of people climbing Everest, for some it's literally the pinnacle of their climbing career. For others, it's just a job to support their families and make some money and supporting that industry. I'm thinking about the porters who carry everything, the tents, the kitchens, the oxygen tanks, and I don't know, probably even people sometimes. So often in very flimsy footwear with unfathomably huge loads. Who are these people who carry Everest, and how are they treated by the big businesses that run that mountain and operate on that mountain? Sounds like a story that needs to be told, and a couple of local filmmakers have teamed up with a few other Aussies to make a documentary called Carrying Everest. Hallam is a Canberra filmmaker making the story of the people who live on Everest and work on the mountain, and Phil Meadows is a cinematographer. They've joined me both in the studio this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, thanks for having us.
Morning, Lish.
What story? Tell us the story of Carrying Everest and how it started.
Yeah, so I travelled to Nepal back in 2013 just as a general tourist visiting the sort of major tourist centres, and I met a wonderful man named Dilip Kulung in Kathmandu through a mutual friend, Leah, who's also coming on this film as one of the storytellers. And so we got in touch in Kathmandu just over a couple of beers and got to know Dilip. And he was just... as we're talking, I asked him where he was from and what he did, and he was saying, he was from a very small isolated community from the town of Chescom in eastern Nepal, and that's about a 2-day walk south of Lukla. And if you're familiar with the sort of traditional Everest base camp trek, Lukla is the airport that you fly into, so they're quite an isolated area away from that main region. And he said, well, if you ever back in the area, come and visit, and I can take you up to base camp. And then we, as we got chatting, I learnt more about a lot of the challenges that community face, which was, and then I just became really, really fascinated with the story and their the challenges and the isolation that they have, and so I thought, well, I'm really, really interested in this. I just have more and more questions to ask. Can I come back and make a film about your community? Because I just found it so fascinating.
What really struck you about those challenges?
Well, there was they have so many, I suppose. So there's the geographical isolation. Like I said, they're 2 days walk from any road or airport. So that's a huge logistical challenge, especially in a country, I think, that was at some point the third poorest in the world. So they feel very much behind in terms of development and things like that with the rest of the world and the rest of Nepal for that matter. They're also not recognised by the government as one of the official indigenous groups, and I think of over 100 or so, I think only about 59 or 60 are officially recognised. So because of that, there's no political representation, and they lack a lot of access that they would otherwise have. So there was just a whole confluence of issues, and I guess because of the for many reasons, but because of the isolation and the lack of access, they do they work along the Everest region. I think they provide about 60% or more of the labour that goes on along the Everest Base Camp route. So that includes porters as well as people working in tea houses and vendors and things like that. And so that was what fascinated me. I thought, wow, I've never even heard of these people, yet they do so much for that industry, but they're not really the ones making the money from it at all. So, unfortunately, they're really sort of subject to that exploitation and that underrepresentation on so many levels, and that was really what interested me.
I opened it with a tease of how much do you think a round trip to the Everest Base Camp, if you ported for that, how much would you get paid?
Yeah.
How much do they get paid for a round trip?
Yeah, so if someone is, if you got a porter who's with you from, say, Lukla Airport, where you fly in up to base camp and back, you're paying around about $13 a day, Australian. And this guy, this porter, he could be anywhere from in his 20s, or he could be a teenager, he could be 60, 70 years old. And they carry up to about 90 kilos. A lot of them, which is a huge...
So a round trip is about 13 days. So
13 days. So you're carrying, you're carrying 90 kilos or for about 13 days up to altitudes of 5,400 meters, which is base camp, Everest base camp. Unfortunately, though, they have to cover their own food and their own lodging at every stop along. So after that 13, 14-day trek, they only end up taking home to their families about $74 Australian, which is tiny.
God, it's crazy, isn't it? And it's such big business to get up on that mountain. You know, I don't know what it costs to climb Everest. Is there a ballpark figure?
I think minimum to climb Everest, you're paying about $60,000 Australian just to cover all your insurance and your permits.
So now you guys are hoping to make a film and getting funding for a film to do this. Phil, you're the cinematographer. How do you go about making this story look good? We've only got a couple of minutes left.
Well, I'll be relying on my skills that I've learned over the time. It's not actually funded, it's self-funded, so we've all pulled our own resources. We've been lucky to get the Friendly Buddha on board. We've been lucky to get the Friendly Buddha on board, who's done an amazing job of helping us raise some much-needed funds. And basically, in order to capture it, we're going to be using minimalistic gear and just relying on our skills to get the cleanest image we can.
Clean image, great story. It's really one that needs to be told, and so you're getting a lot of support. How much money do you need to raise to get you guys over there? Because it's just film gear and walking and paying porters a real wage.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, look, it's quite an expensive project. Anywhere between we're spending over $15,000 on this, and we've raised about $5,000 so far, which is a fantastic effort. Obviously, we'd love to raise a bit more, but we're able to cover at least the rest of it out of our own pockets, which is great. Good on you guys. And if people want to support, they can go find out more from Carrying Everest. Yes, absolutely. You can just head to carryingeverest.com and you can find out ways to either donate to the project or support us in other ways. Great. Through that website. Good on you guys. I think that's the power of documentary filmmaking and cinematography, to be able to bring those together to tell that story that we don't hear. Thank you. Absolutely. Great. Thanks for having us. Hallam and Phil Meadows, Canberra filmmakers, making Carrying Everest. After the news.